It's the Sittin Sportside podcast, exclusively on 1045theteam.com.
And welcome in to the Sittin Sportside podcast, right here on 1045theteam.com. And you are about to witness the first ever Miscellaneous Monday on a Sittin Sportside podcast right here on August 20th, 2018. Yeah, you heard me right. It's the first ever Miscellaneous Monday, and hopefully this isn't the last. And it won't necessarily be every Monday, but this is the first one. And we'll see if there's another one. Keep it tuned to 1045theteam.com. Click on the podcast tabs, then click on Sittin Sportside Podcast or youtube.com/team1045, and click on the Sittin Sportside Podcast playlist. Here's a little bit of a tease going into it. We got some Jets, a baby from a champion, a ring sold, a little bit of MLS, and a Duke player being overrated. It is Miscellaneous Monday. All right, let's get to this. What an intro that thing is right there. All right, Josh McCown. He spoke out at practice the other day. Sam Darnold getting a lot of reps with the first team. He's getting a heavy workload in practice. Could it be an indication that he might start opening day? Well, Rich Cimini reports that when asked this question, Josh McCown responds, nah. I mean, obviously he's younger, but I was taking these kind of reps when he was 4 years old. Now, it sounds a little bit more ominous than it probably is. It's fun to poke fun at the age differences and the fact that Rich points out that it's not much of an exaggeration. Sam Darnold was only 5 when Josh McCown broke into the NFL in 2002 with the Arizona Cardinals. But this kind of feels to me of, I don't want to say too much salty, but it feels a little bit salty from Josh McCown, does it not? I feel like Josh McCown is saying in this statement, like nah, man, like, I was taking those reps when I was there. You know, like I was young once. I mean, you guys remember me? I was a starter for a long time. No, you actually weren't. Well, I was in the league for a long time. Yeah, you kind of were. And listen, don't get me wrong. I love what Josh McCown did for the New York Jets last season. He was a great fill-in, but we all know he was a stopgap for a year or two. And how is it going to be predicted? Now, I'm Team Bridgewater, and I feel like Teddy Bridgewater's kind of been the guy that everyone's been going to. He's getting the best of both worlds. He's not an old guy like Josh McCown. He's not a rookie. He's right in the middle. He's still relatively young with a lot of potential, even coming off that horrific injury that he went through in Minnesota. And he's shown that he could play really well at a good level, and he's a veteran. He's been there before. He played in a playoff game that he should have won, if not for Blair Walsh. So, look, he's the guy. He's like the best of both worlds, and that's why a lot of people, including myself, are kind of on the Teddy Bridgewater train right now. Now, for Josh McCown's comment, it's all in good fun. The truth of the matter is he's way older than Sam Darnold is. And the truth is that Sam Darnold deserves to get these reps. I was talking to a coworker the other day, and I said to him, you know what? I kind of feel like Sam Darnold is the bizarro Christian Hackenberg. They're going to do everything in their power to get him into games this season, Sam Darnold. While Hackenberg, they did everything in their power not to play him last season. Let's move on to story number 2. Oscar Robertson. This is a short one, but Oscar Robertson sold his 1971 NBA championship ring. Sold it. It sold for $91,000 in an auction. It was for the Hall of Fame guard's only championship ring that he won with Milwaukee. That was obviously, like I said, in 1971. And look, actually, it sold for about $60,000 at the Leland's 2018 Invitational auction. And look, someone else turned that around and sells it for $91,000. That's $31,000. Look, Oscar Robertson was a boss when he played. He continues to be a boss now with how he speaks out and how he rallied around a guy like Russell Westbrook. And call it what you want. Stupid. Why would you give away your ring or at any point in time? Look, he's still a boss now. I don't care about the ring. I just know I was a good player. I know I won the championship. Why do I need the ring? So I think it's an interesting story, but there's some more interesting stories moving forward. If you guys haven't heard, and speaking of champions, Klay Thompson's dad, Michael Thompson, a former great that played for the Los Angeles Lakers in the 80s, not only said that his son will re-sign in 2019 with the Golden State Warriors, he also said that Klay Thompson will retire a Dub in Dub Nation, a Warrior. That's some strong word. So here's what he said to Scott Alster of the San Francisco Chronicle. Oh yeah, you can mark it down. Klay's going to retire in a Warriors uniform. He's going to play at Chase Center, the Warriors' new arena. It's open in 2019. And he's not going to be at Chase Center as a visiting player. He's going to be a Warrior for the next 7 or 8 years. Now, of course, that in the 7 or 8 years part, Michael, you just said your son will retire a Warrior, and then you said next 7 or 8 years. So I feel like as a father, you would hope your son's career lasts longer than that. I mean, he's still, only 27 years old. Fine, 7 or 8 seasons. I guess that could make sense. Retire his mid-30s, but don't put a cap on it. If you're saying he's going to retire there, don't put a cap on 7 or 8. I digress a little bit. Look, Klay Thompson's best move in terms of legacy, and I know everyone doesn't care. Some people care about it. Some people think it's a dumb word. But if Klay Thompson wants a firm legacy and not just be on the all-time great teams, his move would be to go to a different team. This is like the anti-Kevin Durant. It's like the Kyrie Irving. It's instead of being dragged down in not dragged, but going in history as someone who was on an all-time great team and was an all-time great player, but not necessarily going to get the credit of that all-time great player, you have to go show you can go well on the other team. Now that backfires. I'm not sure that's the right move. I think that there's certain situations where the person is right to stay there because they'll win championships there, but if they go elsewhere, they maybe hurt their legacy. But Kyrie Irving, I give him credit, even though he wanted out of Cleveland at the wrong time. But he would have stayed in Cleveland this season. He would have been the guy. He would have eventually been the guy. If he just toughed it out for one more year, he would have been the guy in Cleveland. I give him credit for wanting to be the number one guy and wanting to cement his own legacy elsewhere, and that's where I see Klay Thompson should kind of have that mindset, and I feel like he did. Maybe his dad's speaking on his behalf and not necessarily knowing exactly what his son is thinking, but in my personal opinion, while you want to keep it together to win titles, I 100% get that. I mean, like, if you're going to win titles, just stay together. It makes sense. That's a one-track mind, though, because on the other end, it also makes sense. This guy, go prove that you really are better than some of your counterparts. So, look, Klay Thompson, do what you want. His dad said he's going to retire a Warrior. We'll see. We have a whole other season to go by before he's a free agent in next offseasons. If you pay attention to the Major League Soccer, you already know this, but if you don't, you might just tune out of this podcast because I'm not sure you really care. But Atlanta United's Josef Martinez ties the Major League Soccer record with his 27th goal of the season, and it's only through 25 games. There's at least 10 more games going from what I know. It's his 46th goal of 45 career regular season MLS games. Now, what this should mean, usually, is it means that this guy won't go much longer in the MLS. He's 25 years old, and he probably is one of the best players in all Major League Soccer. What this usually means is, other leagues, the bigger leagues, the Premier League, other leagues like that, they're going to want to take a crack at him and see if he can make it in the more competitive leagues. Now, if you're Atlanta, you want to lock him down. If you're the Major League Soccer, you want to lock him down. You want these exciting players to stay in here so you continue to build your league. You get Zlatan Ibrahimovic. He's on the downslope of his career. You get Wayne Rooney. He's on the downslope of his career. Now, of course, they're still exciting players, but you still need the younger guys to stay. Like Bradley Wright Phillips, he was a failure in English League Championship. He was a failure in the Premier League, and then he was a failure in the Championship for the most part. I want to say failure, but he wasn't a top player. Comes to the MLS. And he continues to be one of the top goal scorers every single time for the New York Red Bulls. So while this is still of a scrubbish type league, you need players like Josef Martinez and even Bradley Wright Phillips to make this league exciting. And congrats to him, as he most likely will have the most goals in the season for the MLS. Couple other quick things. I'll go to Alex Ovechkin and congratulate him on the birth of his son. What a year for Alex Ovechkin 2018 turns out to be, right? He not only wins the Stanley Cup, he goes on a massive bend celebrating the win of the Stanley Cup, and then he also has his first son, so congratulations to him and his wife Nastya. He named his first child, a son, Sergei Alexandrovich Ovechkin, and maybe 18 years from now could be a top prospect in the NHL draft. Never know. Of course, Ovechkin just won his first title, like I just said, with the Capitals, and he'll be ready to go this season. I wonder what it's like for these Russian guys to raise a family having to play abroad a lot of the time. Must be difficult, but once again, congratulations to him and his wife. Last thing on the Miscellaneous Monday tab is Zion Williamson and R.J. Barrett combined for 56 points as Duke crushes McGill. And Zion Williamson finished with 36 points, 13 rebounds, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. And he also has some videos of some pretty impressive dunks. Now, Duke fans are going to eat this up. They're going to say they have the best player. They're going to say, look what he's doing. It's against McGill. McGill is a really good school in Canada, but it's a good athletic school. I mean, come on. He's doing these things against some pretty bad teams, and I can't remember stretches before the season even started from any other player or from any other team in recent time that was putting up such numbers and such highlight reel dunks that people are getting so excited about him. Temper your expectations. Zion Williamson, no doubt, will be a top 10 player, top 10 draft pick in the 2019 NBA draft. I am 100% sure of that. 99.99% sure of that. But temper your expectations, because a lot of times the best player going into the season kind of falls off a little bit. Not a lot of times, but some of the times. I mean, we see Wiggins, you see Simmons, they end up going number one anyway. And I'm not even sure Zion Williamson can be considered the number one. He's definitely a top one, but is he considered number one prospect? He definitely has the most flashy statistics and videos right now heading into the season in terms of freshmen. But we saw Michael Porter Jr. drop to 14th this season. So it's not unprecedented for these guys to fall out of grace. Now, that's due to an injury, of course. And I don't wish that on anybody. But look, Zion Williamson, temper your expectation, Duke fans. And if that's impossible for Duke fans, which it usually kind of is, just NCAA sports fans in general who might be getting excited about the prospects of this kid, let's see how he does in real college basketball against some actual worthy opponents and when he gets the ACC play. That's where I'm interested in him. It doesn't matter if you can dunk from the free throw line. Sure, it can mean some pretty good dunks. We saw Dennis Smith Jr. do it against, I believe it was Duke, during a couple seasons ago. Some pretty massive, impressive dunks on breakaways. That's fine. If you want to go and smash it down on a breakaway, go ahead, Zion. But your play against these actual teams will be what actually you're measured by, and I am not 100% in on Zion Williamson and being the best player in college basketball this season. I think he'll be a good player, but temper your expectations. I think there could be some growing pains, especially because the kid is still, right, only just turned 18 years old. So, once again, this has been Eric Hanman. Thanks for listening to the first ever Miscellaneous Monday. Hopefully be back in the next 4 Mondays, at least one of the next 4 Mondays, to do another one of these. And if not, this has been a great only edition of the Miscellaneous Monday. But make sure to stick on the 1045theteam.com webpage for a bunch of different articles from Goss, Levesque, Roger Wild, Chris Honorado, and others. Of course, if you're looking to pick for the Travers this weekend, Brian Mariano will have your picks, his value picks, all the best stuff for Saratoga second to last weekend, but the big weekend, of course, with the Travers. And then, of course, you can click on the Sittin Sportside podcast on the podcast tab on 1045theteam.com or go to youtube.com/team1045 and click on the Sittin Sportside podcast playlist. I hope to be with Mike James pretty soon to do your NFL preseason podcasts, predictions, all that stuff, and maybe even some fantasy football, though the draft's coming up soon, so I should get that out there for you guys anytime. Maybe look out for that, and if it doesn't show up, I apologize for making a false promise, but I know the preseason predictions will be up, whether it's me or with Mike James and I as a tandem. It'll be up. Don't worry, that'll be up before the season starts, the week of September 3rd. So, once again, thank you for listening to Sittin Sportside Podcast. If you made it this far, give me a hashtag Sittin Sportside Podcast at EricH1045. Let me know. Actually, I'll make the hashtag, how about Ovechkin Baby? Hashtag Ovechkin Baby at EricH1045. If you've made it to the end of this podcast, tweet at me. I would love to hear from you. Thanks for listening. This has been the Sittin Sportside Podcast on 1045theteam.com.